So welcome to today's episode of the Life Illuminated podcast. And today I have the pleasure and the honor of welcoming Tommy Breedlove to the show. Welcome, Tommy.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. This is going to be amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you. Tell us a little bit about what you were doing in the past. Who were you in the past? What were you doing with your life?
I was an awful human being in the past.
Doubtful.
No, I'm joking, but I'm not joking. I was the I'll say guy. I was the human who lived his life out of fear, who really put a lot of stock in what other people thought. And that equated for me, and it was very unconscious. It wasn't that I was choosing to be the person I was not born to be, but I was that guy who at 36 years old was looking out the window of a very large office and looking literally down into downtown Atlanta. And I thought I had all the success. I had the watch, I had the tie, I had this fancy suit, the cufflinks, the nice car. But when I looked behind me, all I saw was a wake of destruction. And so I wasn't living my truth. I wasn't living my value systems. And I was scared. And that equated for me with wearing all these masks, the tough guy mask, the important guy mask, the I can't ask for help mask. And I was just trying to do the best I could, but unconsciously I was really dying inside. And so I decided at 36 to transform my life and to become the human I was always meant to be. So that was who I was in the past.
Now, well, when you say you looked behind you and you saw a wake of destruction, what did that look like?
That looked like my marriage was crumbling. Friends were running out of my life. I was working, no kidding, 70, 80 hours a week. When I wasn't working, I was going out at night. If there's a checklist of 100 things not to do in life, probably 95 of them I was checking off. I was literally living that Wolf of Wall Street, Mad Men, cool guy, financial guy lifestyle. And it wasn't me at all. I was just trying to impress somebody. I don't know who. And it was literally killing me. And so when I say it was a wake of destruction, at 36 years old, I was a principal in a large firm, and I literally woke up in a ditch after 3 nights. And I think, honestly, I was unconsciously I never picked up a gun and tried to like shoot myself, but I think in some level I was unconsciously trying to kill myself. So
Where do you think
it's really deep but sad.
Yeah, but I think it's really important and a very poignant point to bring all of this up for our listeners, because I don't think you're alone at all in this conversation. Because what I really kind of want to get to is, where do you think you inherited that conversation that you had to have this drive and you had to reach the top and you had to be looking down in downtown Atlanta from the top of the skyscraper?
I think, honestly, I came from very humble beginnings. And so I think that had a lot to do with it. And I think we're just surrounded by this compare and compete mentality. I think it's in our media. I think it's bred into us in our schools. And I think it's healthy on some levels. But for me, coming from I came from lower middle class, really solid blue collar part of the world. Nobody in my family had ever graduated from college. And so, and I candidly got in a lot of trouble at 18 years old. I thought my life was over. I was literally charged with 2 felonies and spent my 19th birthday incarcerated. Luckily, those were dropped to misdemeanors. But I think just trying to get away from the neighborhood I grew up in, and prove to myself, candidly, that I was worthy that I could do something with my life. And so coming from jail, I literally went from jail to Deloitte, which is a really large financial firm, in 3 years. And so I think I was just trying to prove to myself that I was worthy, hey, you can do this. And it manifested itself in a lot of unhealthy behaviors. I never dealt with that stuff from my childhood. And so I was compensating in all the wrong ways and just trying to compete in the next financial thing and the next financial thing. And candidly, it was never going to be enough.
Well, and my guess is, some of us grow up in a very wealthy environment, and we kind of have this conversation of abundance all the time, that life is there. We've got it all. We have access to it all. And then there's those of us who grow up in poverty, really struggling and pulling and pushing to make it happen. having grown up in a conversation of scarcity.
Yeah.
And I'll bet, and I'm going to guess, and you tell me, is that where the crash happened, where you had this conversation of scarcity connecting and bumping into the conversation of abundance because you were successful?
Yeah. And so it's interesting that you use, those are words that I use all the time now, scarcity and abundance. And those words didn't come into my vocabulary until later in life. I'm 44 now, and I started this particular journey at 36. But I think where, especially my mom and dad, who I love dearly, they're a little bit older now. They're close to their 80s, but they looked at money. It was an us versus them attitude. It was you worked to come home. And, they didn't have any financial aspirations, and it was always comparing, and those people had it all, and yada yada yada. So I think I was bred with a scarcity mentality and trying to prove to myself. And we think that money is the be all end all. And for a guy who spent 20 something years in large financial consulting firms, I've represented billionaires and people with hundreds of millions of dollars, and that never fulfilled them. And I think that's where I started really opening up my eyes. Fulfillment and happiness, A, is a journey. You're not going to always get there, but B, money is an important tool in life. It's something that's very, very important, but it does not give you happiness. It does not give you what we call success. It looks like you have success, but success comes from the heart. So I think I did live a scarcity mentality for 36 years, and really, I was just scared of everything. It wasn't just money. It was just a fear of being not good enough. And that manifested itself in a lot of very unhealthy behaviors and a lot of emotional baggage, candidly. So, yeah.
Well, and that's where the drive came to succeed.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So there's good and bad to both, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so you said you woke up in a ditch. So, and I'm not sure that's literal. Is that literal?
It was.
Okay. Okay. So not only did the marriage start to crumble and the friends started to go by the wayside, but you yourself were starting to go downhill in a big way.
Very, very fast.
That was the wake up call, I'm guessing.
That was the second wake up call. The first wake up call was incarcerated at 19. And the second wake up call, I was, I feel like I'm on evolution 3 of my life. But the second wake up call is I woke up and there's this last molecule. We can call it energy. We can call it God. We can call it universal intelligence. I have my definition of that. But said, you got to get up, and this is not a life that you were meant to live. I mean, this is not who you were meant to be. And probably 4 nights before that, I was probably in some huge boardroom doing some mergers and acquisitions deal or making somebody a lot of money. And what was really happening is all those behaviors, because I knew it wasn't coming from my heart. I knew I wasn't living the life that I was meant to live and in my value systems. And so because I wasn't doing that, I was doing, I candidly on some level probably hated myself. And so I literally woke up in a ditch after 3 days of just complete chaos. And luckily I was okay.
So what did you do?
Some people aren't okay when they wake up from that type of 3 days. So.
Right. So what did you do to turn yourself around, or did you ask for help, or?
This is actually, I'm smiling. We're getting really deep really early. I've meditated this morning. I've ran this morning. I've worked out, I've done my whole morning routine, and I didn't know we were going to be on video. I was like, oh no, because I'm literally coming off of exercising. But this is funny. I have this great morning routine to take care of myself, but this is the funny part of the story. So my wife and I had been going to marriage counseling for about 3 or 4 years. And every time we went to marriage counseling, about the 3rd visit, they would say, "Hey, why don't you come in and Tommy? Heather, why don't you stay at home? And Tommy, why don't you come?" And I'm like, "What? She's clearly the problem." But one of these counselors that we saw did me the biggest favor in life. I grew up humble beginnings with a lot of abuses. And I'll just throw it out there now, I've got nothing to hide these days. Emotionally abused, sexually abused, and mentally abused. And for a young man, that's really tough. Physical abuse too. And so He said there's a program in Tennessee called Onsite, and it's called the Living Centered Program, and they can do more in 7 days with you than I can do in 10 years. That's what the counselor told me. And they'll cut you open for 4 days, not literally, figuratively. And why do you act the way you do? You'll see that you're not alone. You'll see why you have these behaviors, why you have these self-destructive thoughts, why you feel unworthy and insecure. And he was right. And so I was it was in January, because I remember it was through the New Year's holiday, and I went. I just said, I've got to go to this program for 7 days and learn who I am. Who is Tommy meant to be? And it was the best decision I've ever made in my life, because not only did they cut me open, and I felt for the first time in 36 years, they started to give me all these tools to help rebuild my life and become the human I was meant to be. So that was the first major step I took in my life. And the counselor's name was David Gore, and he really did me one of the biggest favors I've ever had. So that's how I started.
That's awesome. That is awesome. And so tell me what tangible ways that you've noticed that you shifted and grown in this journey towards a life illuminated.
I think the first thing for me, and it's still a journey for me, because I believe we have to serve ourselves before we have to serve and love ourselves before we can serve and love others. And so for me, this journey is all about, how can I choose goodness and invest in myself? How can I participate in my own rescue? And so I'm not kidding, every single day, and you're seeing me now, I'm coming off of jogging, I'm coming off of meditating, I read every morning, I have quiet time, I have thinking time, I have exercise time. So I spend between an hour and a half and 2 hours every morning serving myself, investing in myself, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically. And for me, it's all about this journey of self-love, fulfillment, and happiness. And for me, I am always going to be working on that. Am I good enough? Am I worthy? It doesn't matter now. And I literally do public speaking, coaching, run masterminds, retreats, consulting. And even this day, I could be on a stage of 1,000 people, and I have this moment of, am I good enough? Am I worthy? Those demons, those noise, those clouds, they still come up because they follow you. And so my lifelong journey is all about self-love, self-fulfillment, so that I can serve my wife, my family, my community, and anyone who hopefully will hear this message. So that's what I work on every day.
So you and your wife are still together.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's really good. We all wanted to hear that, right?
We're actually going to write a book called The 5 Marriages, but it's one marriage.
Oh, what a great idea. That's really awesome.
17 years together and 23 overall and 17 married. Yeah, she's one of the oaks in my life. She always was one of those humans. I always rooted for the underdog. I was always that person who gave, even when I could have been standing naked on the street and give my last shirt or, the pants off of me. So she always saw the best in me, even when I didn't. So we're still together. Yeah, it's amazing.
Oh, I'd love to have her on the show.
Yeah, she's awesome.
That would be awesome.
100%. She'd do it in a heartbeat. Yeah, she would absolutely do it.
So what do you think the obstacles were and the internal fears that you might have had to overcome to really get on this path that you're on now?
Yeah, and they're still there. There's something that happened. We all have these stories. I don't care who you are on this earth, where you come from. Did you come from poor? Did you come from rich? Are you black, white, green, blue, whatever sexual orientation? We all have a story. We've all have regrets. We've all had things done to us. Human beings are just doing the best we can. And so for me, the obstacles and the continued obstacles is just feeling secure, worthy, and loving myself. I was taught at a very young age to not love myself, that you're never going to be good enough. And that gets in your DNA. And it's crazy for me. And I want to speak for me. I don't want to speak for someone who come from pretty significant abuse. It gets down in your DNA, and you really start to believe that you're not good enough, and you're not worthy, and you're not lovable. And that's really a sad thing. And even at 44 years old, those obstacles still come up, and they're here and here. They're in your heart and your head. They're not real. But they're very loud sometimes. And so the work that I do, even when I'm doing men's coaching or running a retreat or doing corporate consulting, the reason I do this, I'm no sage on the stage. I'm not a psychologist. I have to live this. I have all these tools in my toolbox because this is important for me to love myself, believe in myself, and to live an illuminated life, right? And so the obstacles for me are still emotional and mental, and and it's a journey of I have to be very dogmatic who I surround myself. I have to be very dogmatic with my morning routine. It is about love. It is about abundance-minded people, and so my obstacles is I'm still, even after 8 years of doing this, and I am a studier. I read probably 5 books a month. I go to conferences. I'm constantly sharpening my pencil to be the best human that I can be. But for me, it's going to be a lifelong journey of just one day I want unconditional love for myself. And I'm talking very woo-woo, but this stuff is very important to me.
No, I don't, I don't think it's woo-woo, especially with what I do, right? So,
Right.
but it's true, right? I mean, like you said, it gets in your DNA, it follows you around.
Yeah.
I was emotionally abused by my stepdad throughout my young life.
Mm.
And those conversations still come up daily. It doesn't matter where I am or how strong I feel. It's still something that you just have to say, oh, okay, there's that conversation again. Let's put that aside because that's not true. And this is
Right.
what I tell some of my students too, is first of all, stop and ask yourself, is it true? Is this thought even true? And that's the place you get to put the pause and really reevaluate what you're thinking and make sure that you're back on track. And you're very fortunate too, because you have a loving wife who has stuck with you through it all. And for someone who has a conversation of I'm not worthy or perhaps not good enough, to have somebody in your life that loves you as profoundly as your wife obviously does is such a blessing. You're so fortunate because that helps you constantly stay in a conversation of, yes, I am lovable. Actually, see,
Yeah.
look at her. She loves me.
Even today, I'm like, why? Yeah, it's incredible, the power of companionship, the power of love, the power, but my friends, my network, my mastermind group. It's so interesting that everybody in the world can say they love you, but until you actually believe that you're lovable and start loving yourself, it's really hard to accept that. So you're absolutely right. I can't believe that I've had I'm on my third opportunity of getting this thing called life, because this spins around the sun. We're limited. We don't know how much time we have. And to have people in my life who love and support me. And you talked about scarcity and abundance. It's incredible to me as I've shifted my mindset, shifted my emotional set. And this was a guy back in the day who really was successful in all the Western terms. But success for me now is, yes, it is business. We have our hands in a lot of businesses, but from a friendship standpoint, from a fulfillment standpoint, from emotional standpoint, to the opportunities that come in us, the conversations I get to have, the authenticity I get to live, the passion and purpose of the people around me, it's really a beautiful thing. And so for anybody that's out, I guess the reason I'm saying that out loud is because for anyone who is scared, anyone who feels insecure or unworthy, or who doesn't think they're good enough, if you just will be willing to do the work, and it is work, it's a full-time job, investing in yourself, believing in yourself, loving yourself, and taking that courageous decision to move forward, it literally will transform your life from a place of I'm scared, I'm judging, I'm insecure, I'm angry, I'm comparing, that whole envy and jealousy thing, looking outside of other folks. If you stop doing that, start investing in yourself, your whole life will change. And the relationship I have with my wife, the relationship I have spiritually, is just so much more fulfilling now. So yeah.
Well, and it is the holistic approach of being wholly and complete body, mind, and spirit.
Yeah,
And a lot
totally.
of people who come to me are looking for that quick fix, like most Americans are, right? Teach me how to meditate so I can be okay.
No magic pill, is there?
You got to do the work. And I appreciate you saying that, because I say to students who come to me to learn how to meditate and just take control of that side of their lives, that first we got to retrain your physiology to settle down, to get out of that constant state of fight and flight that we all live in on a daily basis, whether we're sitting on Googling and trying to find the answer to something right now, or get the news media, what's going on in the world right this minute, or whether we're really stressed in a job like you had been. First, we have to train you how to simmer down the physiology. When the body settles down, then the mind will settle down as well. And then you can open up to the spiritual side, which is the most beautiful side, I think, of meditation. But I also say, I could teach you everything I know, but if you walk out of here and you don't practice it, we just had a really nice cup of tea.
That's true. That's right? So true. Yeah, it is work, but it's fun work.
Yeah.
You put it in time. It's rewarding work. Why would you not? We'll invest in our families. We'll invest in the stock market. We'll invest in our careers. We'll invest in our businesses. But why would you not invest with yourself? Why would you not take the time to practice your meditation, to practice, to whatever tool that, whatever flavor that you enjoy?
Right.
Why would you not do the work? And so for me, it's been a full-time job working on me for 8 years so that then I can go serve others. So you're spot on. It takes a lot of work. There's no magic pill, and it takes a lot of courage too. It's a lot of courage.
There comes the expression, if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right?
So true.
Mama runs the house, and if mama's a mess, that house is a mess, right? And I mean that, and I don't mean that just for women, but obviously, right?
Yeah.
Same. If daddy ain't happy, nobody's happy, right? Same thing, right? Super, super important that we clean our own house first.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's the thing for me, even, it doesn't matter if I'm talking to an executive or a young person trying to just really change their life. It's the thing we usually put on the back burner first is ourselves. We always put that, whether it's going to the gym or, like you said, meditating or going to a conference or reading a good book to help you grow. It's the thing that, we'll do that later. We'll do that later. We'll get to that later. And I don't know why we do that as human beings.
Don't you think we do that because we're so busy trying to prove that we are worthy?
Yes.
I'm just going to keep doing what's the next thing to do. Let's get the to-do list out. Let's accomplish, show that I'm successful and I'm worthy. Then I'll worry about myself. And that we all do this. Everyone does this. And we think that life is lived in that 1 or 2 week vacation in Bali that we got to take after 51 weeks of working our buns off.
Right.
That happiness is somewhere out there to attain. And happiness, that's the biggest misperception of reality. Happiness isn't out there as you found out, isn't in the high-rise corner office, isn't in the, however many thousands of dollars in bonuses you received, or that great trip to Bali. The happiness is within, and it's right there. And we can access it in this moment, and this moment, and this moment. But we have to stop and get still first to reconnect, to hear it. And that's the key, I think.
I'm with you. I love what you're saying there. I mean, the only moment we have is right now, right? And so, but it is a journey. It is work. There is, whether you're practicing meditation or practicing prayer or reading or do whatever self-work you're doing on, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, it is a practice. And happiness isn't always going to be there, but what you said of, we as human beings, it's always out there. We're always going to chase this thing called happiness. And whether it's the car or the trip or the house or whatever your particular thing or experience is, it's fleeting.
And so, don't you think that's why and don't you think that's why your life came crashing down? You got it. You got it. You had to be woken up, and some of us do in a really tough way. Some of us come to it on our own, but and we can only hope that we all wake up, right?
Yeah, that's my passion in life, is to help people wake up and to live their truest life, or with passion, purpose, meaning, and significance, right?
And that's what you've ordered your business around. What's the name of your business? I love it.
So the name of the movement is Choose Goodness.
I love it.
For someone who felt like he didn't choose goodness for 36 years, and he made choices out of fear and for other folks, and really put a lot of stock in what everybody else thought. It's about courageous, confident, clear, conscious choices that improve yourself and the lives around you. It's powerful in business too. For someone who comes from the financial world, if you apply courageous, conscious, clear, and you said it, present choices, choices that benefit yourself, someone else, and your business, it can be really powerful and game changing. So that's the name of the company and the movement. It's called Choose Goodness.
Well, and with a last name like Breedlove, it's perfect, right?
Yeah. And I was born with that. It's interesting, for 40 years, no one ever asked me if that name was real. I guess because of what I do for a living now. And they're like, is that like a stage name? Is it like Beyonce or Prince? I'm like, no, I was born with it.
So you were born into doing this. This is
Yes.
purpose. It's perfect,
Yes.
right? And
Absolutely.
now today, don't you jump out of bed instead
totally.
of like, oh, I got to get to the office?
I jump out of bed. I literally live the carpe diem, the seize the day, right? I get up, I do my gratitude journal, I do my exercise, I walk my dog, I do my meditation. I have books all around me that I read and pick up every day that inspire me, that make me a better human. When I get up in the morning, and I'm literally coming off my exercise, because normally my podcasts aren't videoed. I would have showered. So forgive audience. I normally am put together a little bit more, but yeah, I jump out of bed and I'm excited about, the day and having amazing conversations like this. This would have never happened to me 8 years ago. That I get to have these real, authentic, transparent conversations. So yes, it's amazing.
Who do you think was most instrumental in your life path, or who influenced you the most?
I am very fortunate. I would say first, my wife. And this is very raw for me. I felt for 36 years that I wasn't worthy of her good enough. She came from a happy household. She came from the other side of the tracks, and I was always trying to get her to hate me. And the fact that she never would do that, she was always this oak in my life and always believed in me, unconditionally loved me. I would say her first. And then this is miraculous. And I think this is why I was, I'll call it, called to do this work. Even when I was a very young man who was very bullied, and guess what happens to the bully? He becomes the bully and got in a lot of trouble at 18 years old. Even then, incarcerated, being a white young man in South Atlanta, this African American former gang member took me under his wing along with a sheriff. And they saw something in me at that time. And at 36, when I decided to transform my life, these mentors and these humans would appear in my life that were just believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. And so I'm very fortunate that some very influential men and women, I'll say Nancy Vito, Carrie Geho, there's these humans that appear in my life when I start believing myself and wanting to do the work and wanting to move forward, have appeared. And so I've had a lot of influential people. And now, even today, these mentors appear in my mouth. Right now, it's Kay Joyner and Greg Philippe, and a host of other men and women that have just surrounded me with love. And so if you start doing the work and come from a place that I am worthy, I am good enough, and hey, believing that it's amazing the humans that will appear in your life. Like attracts like, and dark attracts dark. So but I was very fortunate, and I don't understand it, and I just have to trust it, that even when I was down, these humans appeared in my life to say, get back up, son, you can do this. Or you can do, even at 36, when I was in the suit and tie, these men appear in my life and say, I've been through this, let me show you the way. So it was a beautiful thing.
Well, but I think that's also a testimony to your vulnerability, because I think if you're closed off and you're not welcoming to other people, they would never have said that to you.
Yeah.
Right. So you had to have a certain amount of vulnerability that you brought to the space for someone to even approach you like that. So
Yeah.
it's a testament to you too, to your willingness, because I think that's a huge piece. I mean, you may want to find peace and serenity and, meditation or, running or whatever's going to be the be all end all. But it's not about the quick fix. It's about really feeling it, like you said, in your own heart and knowing something's got to give. Something
Mm.
really has to give here. And I don't know what to do. I got the white flag up. Someone help. So
Yeah.
even if you didn't actually say that, the energy you're putting out had those people attracted to you.
Yeah, I totally agree, and just very, very grateful for it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So I know you've given us a lot of suggestions already, but do you have any other suggestions for anyone listening who might be feeling stuck and stopped from living that life they really want to live?
Yeah, I would say and it is a feeling, and it's also mental, right? You know that you're not happy. And you don't have to go down into the emotional heart side. I think that's tough for some people to do because we close that off because we don't want to feel right. We want to either work it off or drink it off or social media or news or, watch that 95th minute of Netflix or 95th show on Netflix, right? It's just so we don't have to feel, we're just always out there. I would say if you feel stuck, or be on the lookout for these things. Anger. Are you judging a lot of folks? Are you envious? Are you constantly looking out there and say, oh, I wish I had that car or that house, or I wish I was that successful, or I'm not pretty enough, or, I'm too heavy? Are you constantly comparing, competing, judging, criticizing? Be on the lookout for those. I would say if you're doing that, that means you're not in the flow. That means you're not living your happy, fulfilled life. And so what I would suggest, and this is it takes courage, is you have to do something. It could be take 15 minutes for yourself. It could be pick up a book. There's so much information out there. It could be Googling, how do I improve my life? It could be hiring a coach, and that takes a lot of courage, whether it's a life coach, a psychologist, joining a mastermind, reading a book, taking a walk. But I would say you have to take some time for yourself. It's the simplest thing to do and the hardest thing to do. Start with 10 minutes every day of just getting quiet and thinking. You don't have to. I'm not going into meditation yet because that's a practice and that's a learned skill, and it's an exercise for your mind and soul. But if you can start with 10 minutes of just really pondering your life and taking the courage to take that first step, of that journey. And there's a lot of tools. There's a lot of people out there. There's 2 people on this call, but really take the courage to take that first step to really improve your life. And once you take that first step, that's Rome wasn't built in a day. And the whole cliche is you can't eat an elephant, one bite at a time. But what happens when you take the courage and you take that first step, whatever that first step might be, and I would suggest getting quiet with yourself for 10 minutes a day and just really watching your thoughts and seeing, where I call the Tommy go round. Where does that thing go? Once you realize that, hey, I'm not happy, I'm not fulfilled, and let me start this journey, go out and reach out to someone like the 2 people on this call to really help show you the way, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the key, right? Hold out your hand. Right.
Yeah,
And
totally.
then when we get ourselves back on solid ground, then we can extend a hand. And
It takes
that's,
a lot of courage to ask for help,
yeah, it sure does.
especially from yourself.
Well, yeah. Yeah. And where can people learn more about you, Tommy?
There's 2 places you can go. You can email me directly. This is really simple. Tommy@TommyBreedlove.com. It's so weird to hear me say that. You can also look me up on Choose Goodness or Tommy Breedlove. So it's either one of those places. We have websites, we have social media. We put a lot of goodness in the world, and love to hear from you. Love to hear your journey. So yeah, it's either Tommy@TommyBreedlove.com, or you can go to TommyBreedlove.com and look at me. Or and so it's really, this whole thing in life is about achieving meaning and significance, right? And being fulfilled, being happy, balance, less stress. But you can do that and really work in your passion and what I call your zone of brilliance or your zone of genius. That's what Gay Hendricks from The Big Leap called it. and really you can live the life you were really meant to. I'm doing it. I've done it. And I did it really badly for a long time. So trust me, it can be done.
Well, and I think that we're all doing the very best that we can according to our spiritual condition in the moment.
Yeah,
Right.
totally.
So that sometimes I have to say to some of the people who see me is just be gentle with yourself.
Yeah.
You don't, we didn't get in the hole overnight. We're not
No.
going to crawl out overnight. And there is light, and it's all
totally.
good. And everyone's on their own journey and their own time. And I know that's so cliche, but it's true.
And we do. That's a really great point. I actually have it written there. I'm not going to read you the whole thing. There's so much stuff written over here, but it says lighten up and don't be an a-hole. And that's to me. That's me talking to me. Because we're so hard on ourselves and so self-critical and judgmental on ourselves. But lighten up. I mean, because this is true. How many spins do we get around the sun? We don't know. And this life is so, so fragile and short. And I don't want to look back on regret. And I want to live the life that we were meant to live. And so I have to tell myself, lighten up.
That's right.
Be critical. Don't self-judge. And it's really hard, but I have it written down. So I read it every day.
I had a friend tell me, Maggie, you just need to put the bat away.
Right.
The bat away. I was like, wow. Interesting for someone who cares about you to see it more clearly than you see it in yourself sometimes, which
Indeed.
is the whole reason we reach out for help, right?
Indeed, totally.
Someone else is not living in our head.
Yeah.
Who has a better perspective sometimes.
And I think this is important too, and I know we're coming to the end, but I think it's really important to know, and this was critical for me, and we're seeing all this darkness in the media. We're not alone. These thoughts and emotions that we have of insecurity, unworthiness, am I good enough? Will people really like me? Then the self-judgment that we have on ourselves, we're not alone. Every human being on earth has that. And I think for people to know they're not alone in their thoughts and emotions and fears is critical. And so just know you're not alone, and that there is a very courageous choice that you can make to start today to do something better for your life. So I think that's critical for folks to know that as well.
To start living a life illuminated.
Yeah, I love it. I love the word illuminated. When we were chatting over email, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah. Well, I so much appreciate your time. It's really been fun talking to you, Tommy.
Thank you so much. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, and I look forward to staying in touch with you and sharing your journey a little more and connecting again at some point.
Indeed. I look forward and having my wife on the show.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. So thank you.
Oh, you're very welcome. Be well.
Okay.